Hi, everybody, and welcome to Simply Cards by Kathi. I'm Kathi Ondas, and today is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. For those of you with me, thank you for being with me and taking time out of your day. I really appreciate having some time to craft with you. Hi, Linda. Thank you for joining. And for those of you that catch the replay, thank you so much for going back and taking time out of your day and watching. I'm excited to share with you today one die set that'll create three completely different cards. It is one for the holidays, but it's one that you can use for winter, for like winter birthdays and that also. Or birthdays even around the holidays. So I have a lot to show you. And I hope you'll hang with me to the end. We're going to make one card, but I'm going to show you two other cards, so there'll be a card for each layered die that we create. So I'm going to flip this down and we're going to get started. Okay, we're going to use what's called Cocoa Greetings, and this was a small die of the month from Spellbinders back in July, but it's still available. And it's going to make three different cups of cocoa, one being a penguin, one being Santa, and one being a reindeer. And everything you need is right here. So I thought what we'd do is I've pre-cut everything, and I thought I'd show you because sometimes when you have dies, they can be a little bit intimidating. What I like about these is if you turn them over, you actually see, and I'm going to bring this up so you can see it, where Spellbinders actually shows you the pieces that make different portions of that die cut. Now, the other thing I like about Spellbinders, and I'll take a few of these off, is that they have a plastic sheet, and underneath that sheet is on the cardstock, shows you where each die fits. And I don't know about you, but I'm a die counter. And on every one of my die sets, I count them, and on the insert I put the number of dies that I have because I'm fanatical about losing them and not having them. So this helps me with that. So let's get started. Not to get overwhelmed, but these are all the pieces. Now, some of these pieces are cut 2 and 3 times. So what I'm going to do is take out, let's do our reindeer first. I'm going to take the pieces out for him. And I'm also going to bring over the dies so you know which ones that they are. These go together really quickly. And I will show you the little extra things I've done for each one if I've done something different. Now, one of the things that I sometimes like to do is I don't always use colored cardstock for everything. Like this heart, you can see I have some white ones here, and I'll show you that as we go along. But I'll actually use my blending brushes and I'll blend colors to actually create some of that. So let's make sure we have enough of everything here. That's Santa's eyes. So I need to grab this one, and there should be another one here. All right. So we're going to take these off to the side, and we're going to start to put this little guy together. So let's do that now. All right. So the body for all three of these is going to be this die. And for our reindeer, I cut him from a brown. Now I'm using a lot of Spellbinders paper, and there are links right down below in YouTube where you can see what I've used. And there is a link to it. Those links do have our affiliate links, which simply means that if you click on one of those links and buy something, I may get a small percentage or a small commission. That's a better word. So, but those links are there. Everything I use, I buy myself. Nothing's been given to me, and I don't do anything to promote. Um, I'm not given a product and then asked to do a video on it. All of these have been purchased by myself. So here's the body, and each one has a tummy. And for the reindeer, I cut this out of brown, and this is like a craft cardstock. So this is going to go right in here in the center. And I'm going to just lay that down. Now I'm going to bring you in just a little bit closer. Sorry about that. So that you can see me or see what I'm doing. So that's our tummy. Now for his head, we have this little, what looks like a mask. And we have all the pieces, parts for the eyes and for the nose. So with this, you get a die that cuts out 2 eyes. There's the beak for the penguin. And these are buttons for Santa. And you can cut these out of all white and color them, or if you want to cut from all the cardstock, different color cardstocks, you can. This cuts out the nose and some eyes for Santa in the little inside of the ears for the reindeer and for the a heart. So we're going to work with some of these right now, and we're going to add the eyes for our reindeer. Now the eyes for the reindeer are oval. That was the first die I just showed you, and they're black. So I'm simply going to pick these up here and lay them over. And I'm using my pick tool because I tend to get everything, the glue on my hands. Now, the reindeer's nose is red. And for that die, one of the smaller dies here, cut this second one, cut the nose for the reindeer and the Santa. Now for the reindeer, it is red, so I made him Rudolph. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue around that and just set that on right there. And then I'm going to flip it over and just make sure that it's positioned well. And I'm just going to slide that up just a tiny bit. There we go. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little magnet here because this is a magnetic glass board and I just want it to kind of make sure it sticks well. Now I'm going to bring in Rudolph's ears, and these are cut from a separate die. And you can see that they even have the indentations of where to put the centerpiece for the ear, which was cut from this small die here. Now I cut those out of like a, I guess a cream color cardstock. And let's see where the other one went to here. So lots of little pieces, as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and attach, that one's going to go in here. So I hope you had a good weekend and had some fun crafting. I spent time with my granddaughter who's home from college and my helping watch my grandson because my daughter and son-in-law are out of town. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue these ears on, and somewhere along the line I'm sure I'll come across the other ear because we saw it when I counted it. Now I want to pick this up and show you these ears. Almost all the die cuts have this small indentation to show you how far they attach on this main body piece. So I'm going to add a little glue here. And I'm just going to turn that a little bit, and I want this to attach right about there, and it fits right along the side of his head. Oh, it did fit right along the side of his head. Let's just pick it up and put it there and press it in. And now we're going to do the same with this one, although he doesn't have a center ear. So let's add a little bit of glue and pick him up. And I'm going to add him over here. And just give it a little bit of a press. Okay, now I'm going to set that down for just a minute, and we're ready to put our face on. That's stuck to the magnet. Okay, so this is going to go right in here, and I don't know if you can see, but there's like some impressions for like a forehead or a V on that little deer's forehead. So I'm going to add glue. Now you could use foam. I will use foam on one of them, but I often try to make these less bulky so that they mail a little bit friendlier. And let's go ahead, and there is our little deer's face. The little deer needs a handle. It's a mug. So there is a die that we cut from here. It cuts the handle of the mug and a candy cane, which we're going to use. And then it cuts this fancier. This one cuts like an outline with some added die cuts for some texture. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of glue. And I'm just putting little dots on, very little. And that mug, that handle that's brown, has indentations to show you right where to lay to lay this die cut. So hopefully you can see those there. So let's lay this down, and it fits right along the edge. And I'm just going to make sure it's along the edge and give it a press. So there is our handle to our mug. Now I'm going to attach him to our little reindeer. And he's going to go in right about here. Let's go in just a little bit. And press it down. All right. Next, this little guy has some whipped cream. Now there are two dies that cut this. There's this die that cuts like the puff of whipped cream. But then if you put these two dies, let me get rid of this, together, and you can see the texture on that. If you put these together, yep, it's catching to the magnet, you're going to get a die cut that is more intricate, and it fits right over this. Now for this, I'm not using white. I'm actually using something, it's called plush paper. And it has like a velvet feel to it. It's from Gina K. And the back is paper, so you're easy to glue. You won't have problems with gluing this. So I'm going to actually flip this over. And I'm going to try to check the comments here too in a minute. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue. And we're going to go around and add this right to our whipped cream. And it fits right along the edge. And I got a little bit of something on that. There it is. So that you look like you have the whips on the whipped cream. And this is going to fit. You can see there's a little edge there so that you know right where to put it. And I'm going to add some glue. And we're going to put our little reindeer's head right on there. Okay. And I am going to, let's make sure that's even here. I want to get a little more centered. There we go. And I'm just going to pop my magnet on it so that it can set up for a minute. Now he has a scarf. And the scarf is cut out by these two dies. You get two pieces. And then there's another die that cuts out almost like stripes, so you can make a striped scarf. So let's go ahead and we're going to add those. And this little guy is just about done. So let's make sure I have the right side of this. I do. And again, I'm adding very little glue, just dots here. And then I'm going to pick that up. And this is going to fit right along the edge of this. And it's really easy to put down. Okay, there we go. Let me pick that up to show you. And then we're going to do the same to this other one. And let's see. Hi, Denise and Helen and Diane. You had your first snowfall. A couple of you did. We actually, over the weekend, had, I'm in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, right around Lake Erie. And we had a storm watch for 5 to 8 inches, but we never got it. We just got a dusting. But I hear several people got quite a bit. So, Diane, you got the snow in Ohio. See, we escaped it. So here's our two scarves, and we're going to put these together. Now, this is the long portion. It's going to hang down. And this is the one that'll go across his neck. And you can see this little bare spot is where I'm going to attach him. So let's go ahead and add this right there. And I'm going to let that set up for just a second. And we're going to give him a little heart. And I had cut a heart here from one of those dies when I was cutting Santa's outfit. And I think we're going to put a little heart just right here. So let's flip this over, and then we'll give him his scarf. His heart's a little crooked there, but we'll straighten it out. And let's add this. So this is your scarf, and I'm going to add some glue right along the back here. and a little bit down the side because some of it will attach to the reindeer's body. So let's go ahead and add this. And I put his heart up a little too high. Let's see if we can still get it down. I can. There we go. Let's put that there, and that glue will cover up with our scarf. So here's our reindeer, missing one ear on the inside, of course, but isn't he cute? So that's one of what you can make. And I have a special card to show you with him when I'm done. And that card will have a tutorial that will go out to my newsletter, in my newsletter for those that are signed up for my newsletter. So let's make next our Santa. We'll do him for next. So again, same body. This part up here with the V is near his neck, and you can see this little, hopefully that little tuft or round circle is his belly. Now, he has many of the same pieces that we had for the reindeer. The basic pieces, like the body and the hat. Instead of whipped cream, this is going to be his hat. And then there is a die for the brim of his hat, which is again cut out from that plush paper. So we're going to use that. There's a die that cuts his beard, which is also from that plush paper. And then the center, or his face, is cut with his eyes and eyebrows right here. Now, I used like a real pale flesh-colored paper for that. And then he has a mustache. And let me grab that here. And there's a die for that. The eyes and everything are the same. So I'm going to bring in my little pieces here. I cut his nose pink, just like the flesh color. And then we have two eyes. We have some buttons. And then what else do we have for him? Oh, some cheeks. And I cut those from pink, that flesh color also. And then we also have his handle, which I'm going to grab here. And here's the rest of the handle. All right, so let's put Santa together. So for Santa, we are going to, we'll add a little bit of foam to build him up just a little bit. So for this, I'm going to go ahead first and do his eyes. Very much the same as we did for our reindeer. And turn those over. There we go. All right. Now, the next part is his mustache, and he has a little nose that's going to go in there where I'm going to add this flesh-colored little oval. So let's go ahead and add that. And like I said, there's no problem with adding glue or an adhesive to this paper. So let's give him that. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our mug together while that's all drying. And you can see once you've done it, these go together actually very quickly. The die cutting is, the first time I made these, seemed to be a little more than I was expecting because I didn't know what I was doing and what I really needed till I put them together and played with it. But when I cut everything for tonight's live, it went so quickly because you knew what you needed. And what really helped me was to follow that guide on the back of the dies. So here's our handle, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that. So let's do that now. Okay. And I'm just going to, all right, let's try that again. I'm going to put that here and that here and give it a good press. All right. Now, for our Santa, I'm going to put his beard down. And that's going to go right along here. And then our face will pop up just a little bit with some foam. But we can actually pop up his beard too. So let's do that. Let's give him some dimension. The card I showed you, I popped it all up. So I'm going to go ahead and add this here. And I'm just using some foam, small foam pieces. If you have just the foam tape, you can go ahead and add just that. But these seem to work well for me. You had less than an inch and it disappeared by late afternoon, Diane. How is everybody doing on their Christmas cards if you make them? I think some of you said last week that you do make them, and some others of you said no. So I'm going to take just a little piece and cut that right here. And you can see it's really tiny, but that's really all I'm going to need. And I'm going to take this off and put this right across the top of his beard. And now we're ready to put these on. You know, somebody had asked me about using the dies. That was one thing I was excited to do with my new journey, I guess, was to use layering dies because there's so much you can do with them. And they bring so much dimension and some texture to your cards. I'm just peeling these off, which is one of the reasons I really like them. I've had a lot of fun being able to expand my crafting using some products like these. Oh, I pulled one off. It's on my finger. And it's stuck there. Let's take the release paper off of this. And I think we have one more. Okay. So we're going to pop this right on here. And press it down. So there's his beard. Next, we're going to add his face. Now, for his face, I want to be able, are we going to pop that up? Let's pop that up a little bit too. And we'll add that. Okay, that should be good. And peel these off. And then we're going to add his mustache, and we're going to give him some rosy cheeks. And finish him up. So we're going to pop this right in here. It's going to fit right in. There we go. And we're going to add his mustache, and that I'm going to glue on, and that's going to go right here. Now I know he looks bald, so don't worry, we're going to fix that when we add his hat. And we're going to add this. You can't see it, but I can see it. He has a little mouth that's indented right here, so it shows you right to put where the mustache goes right above. So there's that. Now let's add his hat. So for the hat, I used two different color reds. And I wanted it to look like there were folds in the hat. And you know, when there's folds, things look a little darker. So that was my intent in doing that. So let's put these together. And this is going to glue right on there on the back of his head. And then our little rim is going to glue right there. So, in fact, yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. I'm going to put that down there. And then we're going to put some foam on the back of this. So I'm just going to bring in some, a piece of foam tape and add that to here. And the tape will bend with you. And actually I have just a touch too much, so I'm just going to trim that off. So we're ready to add that. So let's add that here. And one of the things, I know what I wanted to do. Well, let's see if I can still do it. That's going to go right along here. Okay, now he has some buttons. So I'm going to add just a little bit of glue to them. And those little buttons are going to go right on his tummy. And then his cheeks, or his rosy cheeks, I want to be a little bit pinker than what they are. So I'm just taking a blending brush and adding from what's on here a little bit of red, and we're going to add those to his cheeks. So let's do one here and one here. Oh, that's just a little bit too high. He won't see. All right, and let's add these here. And they're going to kind of go under. I did not glue his mustache down completely until I got his rosy cheeks in there. I only glued it at the nose. I'll bring that one up a little bit. There we go. All right, Now, what you could do with Santa is even add a couple pearls to these little buttons. And I'm going to give him, let's give him a snowflake on the end of his hat. Now, what you could do is take one of these dies, like you used for the eyes and that, cut it white and attach it like he's has that white ball. But I'm going to add a little snowflake. Now, the snowflake I cut from glitter paper, and that paper is from Pink Fresh, and it's called Champagne, which I love. And here's our Santa. So that's our second mug. Diane's just starting. Linda started. You've got 5 done. That's great. I am still working. So let me show you the cards I made with these 2. And then we're going to make the penguin and make a card, just so we can do it together. So for Santa, I made just a simple 4¼ by 11 card. I haven't even finished the inside. I popped him up with some foam, and all I used was a piece of patterned paper cut 4 by 5¼ for this. And the paper I used was paper from Pink and Maine. It was called Craft Christmas Patterns. And what's interesting about these, they're really pretty, is they come in a card size. These are 8½ by 5½. You can score them at 4¼ and you have a A2 card base. But some really pretty patterned papers, and they're very thick. So you can do a lot with them. So I used that for that card. And then for my reindeer card, we're going to put these off to the side. I did a fun fold using that same patterned paper. And I cut 2 die cuts that fit within one another. And you can see he's just glued down. There's no foam at all. But what I did do is I took a blending brush and added a little bit of green on that layer, and then layered him on that. So this fun fold, the tutorial will go out in my newsletter at the end of this week. So let's do our penguin. He's our last one, and I think he's my favorite. So let's bring the pieces in for this, and then we're going to put him on a card. So with our penguin, we have his body again. I cut that black. We have the round piece for his tummy, and that's out of white. I cut his face out of white, and this is just plain cardstock. I also cut the whipped cream or foam out of white, but then I used one of these pattern papers that I just showed you from Pink and Maine, and that's what I used to cut the top. I wanted it to look like peppermint. His little mug handle we have is red and blue, sure. And his scarf is going to be blue and black. So let's bring these pieces in. And then we have his eyes. Let's grab these. And his little beak. And he has some cheeks. Now, you could cut his little beak when we get to it from yellow or orange cardstock. I'm just going to use a blending brush to add. So let's put his tummy on here. And we'll add that here. Now for his face, I'm going to go ahead and add his eyes. Do a little bit there. And pick these up. Oops. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and glue this right to here. Again, easy to do. You have that little bit of a V, if you can see that, and shows you where to put it. I'm going to put it right there. There we go. Now for his nose, I'm just, again, taking a blending brush that has some orange on it, and I'm just gonna rub that on. You can always add some ink if you want it darker. There's one that has a little bit more ink on it. And that looks good. So if you don't have a lot of colored paper, or you don't want to take a piece of paper and cut a small corner off, you can cut out a white and use your blending brushes to add color to it. It's an easy way to do it. Now we're going to do the same thing for his little cheeks. Just going to ink those up. That looks good. And let's add a little bit of glue and put those on. Okay. Oops. Isn't he cute? I just think he's adorable. All right, we're going to add his hat. So I'm going to add my peppermint whipped cream here. You know, and you can use, just think of different ways. You have, I'm sure you have all kinds of paper, patterned paper at home, and you can use that in place of some of the cardstock. And it gives you some, a little bit something extra. Let's add him. And let's go ahead and we're going to add some glue to here. And pop him right down. And I'm going to put this down to kind of hold that all down while we do his scarf and his handle. And we're ready to do a card. So let's add our handle. Again, I just used red and white. I wanted him to have just a little bit more color. And hopefully you can see, yeah, that I'm adding this, and it fits right around the edge. Super easy. Okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to add this to him. And I'm going to just lay him over it and bring that in a little bit. There we go. And put that down. Now let's do a scarf, and we're ready to pop them on a card. So let's have this on here. And the same. All right. All right, there's that. And we're going to put his little scarf together and put that on him. And I thought since we had some like peppermint on the top, it might be fun to add a couple candy canes. And the candy canes come with the dies. So let's go ahead and add this. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute, and we're going to bring our candy canes in. Oh, come on, you little bugger. There we go. So we're going to add these. And I'm going to flip them over. So even the candy canes come in two die cuts or for layering. So let's add this one. Okay, and let's add our second one. Excuse the Band-Aid on my hand. I was grooming one of the Goldens yesterday, and he jumped or didn't want me doing it, and he decided he was going to get up and leave, and instead of trimming his fur, I trimmed my knuckle. So let's add this. Again, going to go across and then down the inside that will hit our little penguin. Oops. Isn't he cute? I love him. Okay. And let's add our candy canes up here. Just kind of like popping out of the whipped cream. So I'm going to add a little bit here. And I'm going to add a little bit here. Let's put one here. Oops. Oh, I bumped my... Let's redo that. I guess I pulled it off. Sorry about that. And we'll let that sit while we go ahead and put our card together. And we're going to put him on here. All right, so let's move him off to the side for a minute. And we're going to make an easy card. So I have a piece of 8.5 by 5.5. It is scored to 4.25. I'm using a heavyweight white cardstock, the Nina White Solar Crest. It's 110 pounds. So it is gives you a nice card base. Now, I decided to I wanted to layer this. So to layer, I used some rectangle lacy dies. These are A2 size. They're from Waffle Flower. And I cut a black layer from here, and then I used a pattern paper for the inside layer. So let's go ahead and add those. Yeah. I was looking at that thinking it's white. But the pattern's on the other side, Kathy. Okay. The penguin would make a great winter birthday card. I agree. I have a couple winter birthdays coming up in January, and I thought he'd be perfect. All right, let's put this on here. Just going to slide them down a little bit. And we're ready to add our little penguin. So here he is, all put together. Isn't he cute? I just think he's so darling. I think they all are, but I think he was my favorite. And just adding glue because I'm going to lay them flat for easy mailing. And we're going to put them up towards the top here. Give them a good press. Now for greetings, I pre-cut mine, and I actually batch cut a bunch of greetings, and I used a press plate to do that. And some of you may have watched last week where you saw me use a press plate. So I did use a press plate from Spellbinders. It's called Mistletoe Greetings. And just for those of you who may do press plates, let me show you this. Because what I liked about it is all the greetings are on two plates, and then you have one die that cuts one plate and one die that cuts the other plate all at once. Just does a really nice job. So let's pick, I don't know, maybe mistletoe and holly. Nah, let's do fa la la. I think that's cute. And we can pop that one up too. Since he's flat, I guess we'll pop him up. So I'm just going to cut a piece of foam and run it along. Let's cut another little piece. Just remove it. And we're going to add a little snowflake, I think, to his scarf. Little bling would be fun. It's a piece of fuzz. Okay, there we go. There. And then I think I had one more little champagne snowflake. And let's add that here. And then if you wanted to add more gems or something, you could. But let me bring all of these in. Let's do our little Santa. Here's our penguin and our reindeer. Let me bring you back to me. You like the peppermint, Diane? I really like the peppermint and candy canes too. I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. I know it was a little longer than typical, but I think sometimes people want to shy away from using some of these layering dies because there can be lots of pieces and parts and you're not sure. The guide helps, but once you've done it, they go together so quickly. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you'll consider giving it a thumbs up. It'll help me grow my channel. Feel free to share it. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday at 7. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend and rest of your week. Bye-bye.